So if you've ever wondered what the sensible SENCO looks like, hi, it's me, in my rather scruffy looking living room at this moment in time, with the dog clipping around with toenails that need cutting. And the hair is usually purple, although it does look red on screen for some reason. Anyway, today's video I have for you SEN funding formulae, how they work, how you calculate them, what it actually means, and why we don't actually get £6,000 per SEN student, and how SEN-ness has nothing to do with the calculation. And yes, that is a pile of nappies over my shoulder. I've just realised that you can see on the camera. I have a 2-year-old. Anyway, so enjoy the video. I tried to keep it as short as possible, but unfortunately it's one of those things where if I'm going to explain it correctly, it is going to take a little bit of time, and I have tried to do it with a couple of examples in there as well. So if you're one of the lucky schools, well done. If you're not one of the lucky schools, I apologise. It probably means I can't find your data. But have a look at them, and you can always skip over them. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe so that you can see my other videos in the series. Take care, guys. Okay, so I've got rid of my face and it's a blank screen for a second. Going to take you straight into my screen share, going to show you the Local Authority 2019-20 Funding Reform Pro Forma. In other words, how we calculate SEN budget. It is a spreadsheet, it is downloadable from the DFE website. I will pop a link somewhere on the screen or in the description that shows you where you can download that information from. There is also a PDF guide on there, so if you don't want to listen to me, you can go and sit and try and read through the guide and see if that will make sense for you instead. I have a feeling the audio for the next bit starts in a strange place. Their Local Authority 2019-20 Funding Pro Forma, and if I give this click up here, I can change it to any of the other local authorities and their funding pro forma instead. I'm just going to borrow Northamptonshire for a moment. And what we can see over on the left-hand side are what we call pupil-led factors. And you will see that none of them actually refer to SEN or SEN-ness. And that's because that's a perverse factor. In other words, you are in control of whether a child is SEN or not. Anything you see in this left-hand column here is actually controlled by your census, it's controlled by external factors. So you are not the one who is determining reception to year 6, the numbers in that, you're not the one that's determining free school meal status or pupil premium status, you're not the one that's determining somebody's postcode and therefore their Idachi band, you're not determining whether they're looked after or EAL or when they move schools, and you're certainly not determining their prior attainment. So you're not in control of those, they're safe factors for a local authority to use. Whereas SEN, well, if we want more money, all we do is actually put more children on the SEN register. That would be seen as a perverse factor. That's why they don't use it. Okay, so up here, first of all, we get our bum on seat money, our age-weighted pupil unit, and it varies according to the age of a child. It's usually slightly more when you're in Key Stage 4 than it is when we're in primary schools. And over on the right-hand side here, there is a column that says Notional SEN, and this is where this Notional SEN budget comes from. So for each child that I have, who is in reception to year 6, I'm going to get £2,755.84. And if I only have one of them, because I've got a very small school, I will also get 9% of that value as my notional SEN budget. And I would also get 9% if they were a Key Stage 4 student. If I have 10 students then, I'm going to get £27,000, and 9% of that, I'm going to get an additional pot, an additional notional budget of 10% of 9% of that £27,000. Okay, so just scrolling down slightly, I have free school meals, and that's usually the same in both, but your pupil premium value changes. Pupil premium, free school meals 6, ever 6, uses different names, it's pretty much the same thing. This is not the money that you get where you have to write that report and show the impact of the additional funding. That comes separately. But into your main school budget, you are already getting a factor based on pupil premium free school meal status. But over on the right hand side we can also see that a percentage of that is also being used to pop into this notional budget pot as well, and in the case of Northamptonshire it's 12.7%. IDARCI or DARCHI funding or bands are to do with postcodes. It's where children live, it's the deprivation of the area that they're actually in, and again Northamptonshire has decided 12.7% for each one of those. Straight confession here, I know how to find out how many kids are in my school, I know how to find out who's free school meals, I know how to find out who is Pupil Premium because I can go to the Keys to Success website, pop in their UPNs, and it will tell me whether or not they're eligible. However, I wouldn't have the first idea how to find this piece of information here. I have Googled it, I have had a look for it, but it's my confession, I don't know where to find that. If anybody does, please tell me. Okay, looked after. I know my looked after numbers as well. EAL and mobility factors, so children who are starting outside of normal entry dates. So if they are joining you in year 4 rather than in year 3 if you're a junior school, or if they're joining you in January rather than in September because they've moved house. So these are all factors that might be used, but in the case of Northamptonshire they don't actually use that in their SEN allocation, their formula for that. And then primary prior low attainment, so that's your early years foundation stage going into Key Stage 1, and then our secondary low attainment, which looks at Key Stage 2 scores. Of course we get a weighting for that as well, and again Northamptonshire has decided we're not going to use that as part of our notional budget. So what we end up with is a value calculated on those things. Down at the bottom of the table here we also have some other factors that are sometimes used. So in the case of Northamptonshire, they don't actually consider any of these things in terms of notional budget, so there's nothing, no lump sum there, there's no sparsity factors, we're not using any exceptional circumstances or anything like that, and the bottom of that table is actually irrelevant because it's not used. So that's what happens to calculate a notional budget, and like I said, it is different for every local authority. So if I just borrow, I might as well borrow Birmingham for a second, and that should change on the screen. Brilliant, thank you. We see that they're using 5% of bum on seat money towards the calculation. They're only using 50% of these factors here, so your free school meals and your Ever 6 and your IDARCI funds. 0% of any of these looked after EAL and mobility, but they're using 100% against prior lower attainment, and again they don't use anything in the bottom of the table. And if I plod along and borrow, and I happen to know that this one's a really interesting one, so West Berkshire. Is it Berkshire or Berkshire? Berkshire. So average weighted pupil unit, they don't use it in their calculation. Free school meals, pupil premium, where you live, they don't use that in the calculation. I'm starting to wonder what they do use. Looked after EAL mobility, they don't use that in the calculation. The whole of the notional budget for SEN children in West Berkshire is calculated based entirely upon their prior attainment. So if you remember, I started with Northamptonshire and I said, I showed you their formula funding. Now, this Northamptonshire very helpfully put out on their website a calculator that allows their schools to calculate how much funding they're going to get. So these are all of Northamptonshire's schools, all 301 of them. And I borrowed the first one on the list, which is Abbey Church of England Academy. And I would love if their SENCO, Caroline, ever watches this, because this is her school. And all I've done is I've popped their number up in the top and it brings up the name of the school. This is a public document. I'm not breaking any confidence by popping it on there. So she has 181 pupils in the school and they are funded for their bum on their seat at £2,755.84 per child, which means they get a bum on seat budget of just short of £500,000. Free school meals, they have 26 pupils. I don't know how we get 44.05 for Pupil Premium. I'm not even going to ask that, but I'm sure Northamptonshire understand their formula. So they get funded, and this is a primary school, so they're going to get funded at £541. And here are our Idachi bands, so our postcode affected factors, and we don't have any children in Band A or Band B. And we get a value over this side as well. And just to remind you, so Northamptonshire's formula said 9% of bum on seat money, 12.5% of free school meals and Ever 6, or 12.7%, and the same for all of the Idachi bands, but of course we're going to get 0 for this bit down here. And as it happens, Northamptonshire's formula doesn't take into account any other factors. Abbey doesn't have any looked after children. It has 13 EALs, but tough, you're not going to get any additional funding on that basis. You will for the EAL factor, but not for the SEN notional budget. They're not bothered about your kids entering outside of normal dates anyway, and your low prior attainment, again, I don't know why it's a decimal, but the students with the low prior attainment, it doesn't take that into account in that formula. So if I just hop over, just so that I'm not completely picking on Abbey all of the time, and we'll go down to the bottom, I think, and we'll find another school. So I can't even, I don't think I can pronounce that. Is it Yelvertoft Primary School? So 9282108. So if I go into here, 9282108, press my tab key. Should change it for me. There we go, Yelvertoft, which is a smaller school, so they only have 98 pupils, and they're going to get funded at their £2,755 each, which gives them a budget of just over £250,000. So you can see half the size of the school kind of thing, and that's going to be used when calculating that notional budget. And interestingly enough, their Idachi funds here, so we only have 2 children in Band F, and we have 0 in all of the other bands. I'm starting to wonder whether this table is correct, but hey ho. But we've got 18.5 children who are Pupil Premium and 12 who are free school meals. So that's quite a low percentage of their school anyway. Okay, so that is where the values are coming from for this. Now, Northamptonshire, so helpful. What they've done is, if I scroll further down the page, they have calculated that Yelvertoft is going to get £26,308. And I'm just going to scribble that down on a piece of paper, and I will show you how they came to that figure in a moment. So if we remember, we had 98 pupils, and it was a total of 270,072. And then we've got 12 who were free school meals at a value of £441 each, which is 5297. And our Pupil Premium, we have 18.57, which is a rather odd number, which is £10,059. And we have some Idachi Band F, 2 of them apparently, and that gave us a value of £401. So let me hop onto another spreadsheet for you. Another spreadsheet here, and what we have, or what I have done, sorry, is that I've popped down here the factors that Northamptonshire, as it happens to be, have decided to use from that funding formula to calculate SEN, and I've popped in there the percentage value that they will accommodate. So we had our bums on seat money, it was 9%. We had 98 pupils, but they're each being funded at £2,755, whatever it is per pupil. That is £270,072. And if I just press my down key, that is therefore going to contribute £24,306.48 towards our notional budget. If I go to free school meals, why's my screen jumped over there? There we go. If I go to free school meals, you remember there was only 12 pupils, so that was £5,297. and it calculates that one for me. Come on, computer, do your stuff. There's £672 going into my notional budget. And for Pupil Premium, there are 18.57 children. I've got to meet this 0.57 child, which was £10,059 going in, and they're going to give me 12.7% of that, which is another £1,277. And if you remember, we had those Darty bands, and it was a very unusual school in that we only had 2 children. They were in band F, and that was worth £401 to the school as a total value, of which we're going to put an extra £50.93, let's call it, into the budget. And that gives us £26,307.61.9. Very helpfully usually rounded up to £26,308, and I am going to pray that I can actually open another spreadsheet for you without my computer crashing on me, because I'm having one of those days. There we go. And if I jump back to this one here, and there was that Yelvertoft school, and if I scroll down to the bottom, you will see there was that £26,308. And if you remember, I also showed you the Abbey school, who were up at the top there, and their code was 928126, just to prove to you that this does work. Click that one there, 928126. I bet I've just done that wrong, haven't I? 928126, there we go, might help. Or not. Did I read the number wrong, guys? 9282.126. 9282.126. Any second out. There we go. There's the Abbey and their value. So they were on that nearly £500,000. If I scroll down, it says that their notional budget should be £53,164. So if I go back to my other spreadsheet then, and back to this one here that says a calculation, I actually had their figures already in there, so I'd popped in the numbers that were from their spreadsheet there, and it calculates it out to be this amount, which is conveniently rounded to £53,164, which is what we've just seen on the other spreadsheet. Now, Abbey had 181 pupils. If we have 181 pupils in our school, and we want to work out, well, we're always told we have to spend this £6,000 on an SEN student to, meet their needs before applying for EHCPs or whatever. I totally disagree with it, and it is incorrect. You should not have to spend an amount of money before applying. However, it's what we hear all of the time. But here you can see that if you take that £53,000 notional budget they are being provided with and you divide it by that £6,000, they can apparently only have 8.86 students on their SEN register who need that full funding. I'm going to be generous and round that up to 9 students. 9 students as a percentage of their 181 in their school is 4.97%. And you are all aware that the national average and certainly the local average for Northampton is a good 10% above that. It is nowhere near 5%. It is much, much higher. So it would be fair to say that, and this is a very, very good school, I know the Abbey school, they're a very good school, it would be fair to say that they are probably going to struggle to meet the needs of their students through the SEN notional budget alone. Okay, and if I just go back to, we had the Yelvertoft one there, we can see we have £26,308, so 26,000, helps if I put the equal sign in first, 26,308, and if we divide that by the 6,000, which we are supposed to spend on each one of our SEN pupils before we start applying for that additional funding, that is therefore saying that we can have 4 children on the SEN register who have very high levels of needs, and in that school we had 98 pupils. And so 98 pupils, and if I'm allowed 4 of them on my SEN register, that roughly works out at about 4%. I apologise because my screen stopped recording at that point. So having looked at 2 primary schools, I thought it'd be a good idea to have a look at a larger school, possibly a secondary, and just apply that formula in a slightly different way. Again, I can only do it for Northamptonshire schools because of the fact that they're the only ones where I've got all of that data available. But if you know those Adachi figures, looked after, the ALs, all the rest of it, then you would be able to calculate this for your schools as well. Actually managed to find a fairly large Northamptonshire secondary school, Northampton Academy here. 752 pupils in Key Stage 3 and 476 in Key Stage 4. And multiplying that by their bum on seat money, we've got a value of just over £5 million going into the school budget. Free school meals, 214 of them, so we've got £94,000 from that, 488 pupils who are Pupil Premium, and then we've got a range of students across the 6 Adachi bands that are covered there, with the vast majority of them in band B, C and D. No looked afters, 41 EAL students, but these are factors that are not counted in the notional budget anyway. However, 346 of their pupils coming in with low prior attainment. So I'm not going to check their SEN figure. It's down at the bottom of the page. I'm not going to check it out. We're going to go and find out whether this way of working it out actually works. I know it does, but let's go and do it anyway. So let's go back to my nice blank spreadsheet over here. So if we remember, in fact, I might as well use the Yoltoft, I've forgotten the name of the school, the one beginning with a Y. We could use this one for calculating it. I just need to add an extra row in, insert, there we go. So I've got 2 sets of figures I need to pop into here. So I need to put in my Key Stage 3 value and my Key Stage 4 value, both of which the Northamptonshire budget says it's going to be 9% of those. And in this one, if you remember, we had the all 6 bands were represented. So let's just insert a couple of extra bits so we can pop that in. The Adachi B and the Adachi A. And again, they were 12.7%. Oh, and it's very nicely calculated those for me as well. Brilliant. Right, okay. And I did remember to... Why are you not copying across? Try and see. I did actually remember to write down the values. So their Key Stage 3, their Key Stage 3 money that was coming in was £2,914,066. Their Key Stage 4 students was £2,094,368. Their free school meals was £94,463. Their Pupil Premium was £384,354. And these bands was 9026, 77532. So I get paranoid and think I'm typing over something because I'm not actually looking at the screen. 14128, 70483 and 114671. So put all of those in, let it do its magic, and it is telling me, let's just get rid of those because they're to do with something else. It is telling me that my notional budget for this Northamptonshire school, which was Northampton Academy, should be, let's work out how many zeros I've got in there, just over £500,000, well over £500,000 actually, £572,076.83. So I am guessing that that has been rounded up to 572077. Ooh, 77, Abigail, well done. Total number of pupils on roll, well that was 752 plus 476, which is 1,228 pupils on roll. So let's just work out how many pupils we can afford to have at the full £6,000 value. 572077 divided by the 6,000 gives me 95, I am going to round it down to the 95. So if I take that 95 and calculate it as a percentage of 1,228, and let's put my times 100 in there as well, and then enlarge that because for some reason it's smaller than the rest of the screen. There we go. Ooh, I did the wrong button again. So again, I'm only being funded for 7.7% of my school population as being SEN pupils who would need the full notional £6,000 budget. Okay, let's check though, did I do that calculation right? So 572077, so if I go back and I find that calculation that we were looking at a moment ago. So there was Northampton Academy, there were those values, and if I scroll down, 572077, I can't even remember what I just said, 572077, go back, check mine again, 572077, 572077. I hope that helps you in trying to work out your notional budget, how much you get, and it helps you to understand where those calculations come from. Like I say, I wouldn't know where to find my numbers for this, but I'm pretty sure some of you will be able to work that one out. Don't forget, some local authorities use looked after and prior attainment and other factors in their calculations as well, but the only schools I had access to are those that Northampton have actually put onto their website. Thank you very much.